Very nice. So let us return to this text exploration. This is a very special and elaborate text from Karma Chagmé, authored after a 13-year retreat, a solitary retreat, where he did the Kirim and Zokrim generation and completion stage practices to embody Avalokiteshvara, so this compassion, and then authored this text after the retreat. And of course, we have Gyatso Rinpoche, um, who's providing the commentary, and Alan Wallace is translating, and I believe this was published in 1998. And of course, Karma Chagmé was hugely responsible for initiating the Paleo lineage that I was lucky enough to get introduced to as a child. My mom has always been part of the Paleo lineage, and she still is to this day. And so here we have essentially a founder, a founding member, Karma Chagmé, because Kunsang Sherab was Karma Chagmé's student. Kunsang Sherab was the first throne holder of the Paleo lineage back in the 17th century. Now, they're still Nyingma, so they're still part of the old school, but I believe what started to separate the Paleo and make it unique is that they have the Namcho, space treasure. Of course, Cho is kind of Dharma or treasure, Namcho, so space treasure, or I think it's treasure space actually. Yeah, like that. So Nam being treasure, Cho being space, if I remember correctly. So either way, because Migyur Dorje revealed this great cycle of teachings, and Karma Chagme synthesized that with the Ratna Lingpa Girbum, um, the Paleo lineage was able to really have a comprehensive compilation of the nine yanas. So this entire curriculum did we have with the nine yanas. Everything from taking vows all the way to Dzogchen. So yes, are we on? We're not on the Shamatha part. Which page is this, Yeshi? I think this part is good. Just get the page number. Oh, we're only on 138. Huh? Okay, so Dagpo Rinpoche taught the meaning intended by Dombi Haruka. Just as water is clear if it is not disturbed, rest without modifying the state of awareness. Like the sun unobscured by clouds, rest in your own nature, without inhibiting the six fields of experience. At all times and during all activities, be without distraction. Okay, we could keep it here for a moment. Distraction means that you're going into your thoughts. Very simple. You're undistracted from pure presence. When you trust and follow that thought proliferation, then it's a kind of a distraction. So when we rest, just like clear water that is undisturbed, our awareness can be like that. It can have vibrations of cognition, basically, and that's what all these thoughts they cause ripples in our awareness. And so you don't need to modify awareness. Those of you who are freshly being introduced to the nature of mind, remember, continue to be okay with your state. This is very difficult, as we noticed from the sharing today. We had a sharing about cycles of anger and hurt, uh, deep cycles, deeply ingrained, trust awareness. That's the only way to get out of this. You're not going to be able to analyze every single layer of these cycles. That's impossible. All right? They're very subtle. They're very sneaky. They can be very quiet. It's best to just trust awareness, because no matter what your cycle is, no matter how many nuances and how far it's been segmented, um, awareness will always permeate every aspect of your experience. Pure presence will always permeate everything. So it is like the sun unobscured by clouds, and we rest here in this pure presence without complicating it by causing these ripples of the mind. And so 6 fields of experience are the 5 senses. You rest here, you let your eyes rest, you let your ears rest, your breathing, your smelling, your feeling, your hearing, everything is included in this, the taste in your mouth. And then what is the 6th one? It's thoughts, emotions. So you also let those rest. And then if I'm sitting here with my eyes open and I see a raven fly by, well, the same can happen with your thoughts. You're resting in pure presence and a thought flies by. And this is your liberated mind. So the commentary on Dagpo Rinpoche's passage here says, when the sun shines into a pool of clear water, the pool is transparent and luminous. In this practice, if you do inhibit your thoughts, feelings, and so forth, the exertion itself disturbs the awareness and clarity is lost. Therefore, relax into your own nature without inhibiting any of the 6 fields of experience. At all times, do your best to maintain the qualities of mindfulness, introspection, and conscientiousness, and do not fall into the other extreme of following after the 6 fields of experience. So just like we could, let's say a very attractive person walked by my window and they were carrying a pizza. I'm just going to try to make it as attractive as possible right now. And they were walking a dog too. They're walking a dog carrying a pizza, very attractive. And I look up, what do you think my mind's going to do? My mind's going to get pulled towards that, right? And so I'm getting engaged with the sense. Remember, I did, yeah, broccoli pizza, chuckling. But so my mind, depending on what my preference is, they could have, whatever, be 7 feet tall and have purple hair. I don't know. Everybody's so different on what they think is attractive. Okay, I'm not going to tell you my secrets, but really, so whatever is for you, maybe a dog walking by with a pizza. There we go. So, and you see this, your mind, anybody's mind would probably attract to that one. And so these are the appearances, but also the reference point getting engaged. And you can feel all that in your awareness. You can feel yourself pull towards sense objects or sense engagement. All right. Even when you play games, like how upsetting it is, right? Can show you how involved you are, how much grasping there is into that. Okay, very good. So, that's what my best explanation of following after the 6 fields. You smell the pizza, you see visually, you hear things, you start imagining with your thoughts, and there you are. You're in the sense distraction. And when you're doing this, even if there's something that upsets you, when you're thinking about it. When you're proliferating about it. and contracting into that mind. The same goes if you're trying to quit an addiction, for example. The more you think about it, the more painful it's going to be. Mhm. So, the Venerable Dragpa Gyaltsen says, observe the mind of the mind that is mindless. If you see something, that is not the mind itself. Seeing without seeing is seeing the mind itself. Do not be distracted from the unseen mind. If you think that mind does exist, that is fine, but then look at it. Can you identify its essence? If you do see something, what you see is not the mind itself. Do not be distracted from the unseen mind itself, because as soon as you do, you will lose it. Some of these commentaries are so short. I feel like that that line by Dragpa Gyaltsen right there, we could have a whole session on that. But all right, yeah, we always have our pithy commentaries and our long commentaries. So the Venerable Sakya Panchen says, when self-arisen primordial wisdom arises, all conceptualization turns into the nature of primordial wisdom. There is no difference between meditating and not meditating. And ideation dissolves into the absolute nature of reality. Kyeme Shang says, in Mahāmudrā meditation, there is no definite sequence. There is no order or enumeration of preliminaries, main practice, and conclusion. There is no need to calculate the time or date. Whenever you remember, maintain your practice and be at ease. This is exactly how I guide people in the group who you don't need to follow my guidance. You can follow other teachers and still hang out here in the group, but um, excuse me, this is exactly um, you know very simple, very light advice. When you can return to awareness, it's always good to have diligence and things like that, but the less pressure, the better. So your own mind is unborn and unceasing. In the case of water, in which silt has been raised up by waves, if you leave it to itself, it will become placid and limpid. So it's talking about, if you shake something, everything will settle naturally, and there will be this clear light water, right? Clear water. Or with us, it's a clear light awareness, clear mind, when all the vibrations of our doing settle down. I don't know if I have a critter here. It's very, very cold today, so you never know if some of the critters will try to come inside. All right, so Nitty has been distracted by something. So yeah, there's no need to calculate time and date. And I really invite you all to relieve yourself of this contextualizing your practice. Once you get into Dzogchen, there's really no more need to evaluate yourself and say, "Oh, I'm at this point," or um, making some kind of character sheet about your progress is unnecessary at this point, because it's going to serve as an obscuration for you. Every time you try to say, "Oh, this is what's happening to me," you go backwards. And even that "this is what's happening to me" mind is a pattern. You've had it for a long time, right? It's repeated itself, so that's how you know it's a subtle cognitive obscuration. Now that's our clue, that's our trick. Um, when we're discerning pure consciousness from conditioned consciousness, we know that it's conditioned because it's repetitive, it repeats. So, whenever you remember, maintain your practice and be at ease. There is no beginning, middle, or end. Your own mind is unborn and unceasing. Yes, very good. I like that line a lot. In the case of your mind that is obscured with conceptualization, if you leave it in its own nature without modifying, it becomes clear. Do not modify, but be at ease. Do not draw in your consciousness, but let it roam. Isn't that wonderful? Let it roam. That's why we abide with the eyes open, ears open, all our senses. We don't need to close them off. We don't need to close our eyes and go into a kind of coma of our own thoughts. We're here with everything, from the temperature to the inner workings of our psychology. It's all here. So do not crave anything, but let it be. Do not fix your attention on an object, but let it be. Do not engage in many activities, but simply be present. Without seeking a place to put the mind, let it be like space with no foundation. Do not think of the past, future, or present, but let your consciousness be fresh. Whether or not ideation flows out, do not intentionally meditate, but be loose. In short, without meditating on anything, let your consciousness be just as it is. There is no need for anxiety about anything, but know that everything moves in a state of the Dharmakaya. In this phase of practice, you don't need to contemplate the Four Noble Truths or the Four Thoughts. You don't need to take account of particular times of day or auspicious times to practice. You see, that's why I start to break my relationship with time in a lot of ways also. You know, see if you can adhere to a schedule without time. See if there's a flow in the subtle aspects here. You also don't need to worry about preparing yourself in a major way for meditation. It's always sort of here with us. So if you leave your mind in its own nature without modification, structure, or adulteration, it becomes limpid or clear. I like the word clear better, so if you see me substituting, clear just goes better with clear light and clarity and all these other contextual references that we'll see. So in that state of awareness, there's no question of either contamination or non-contamination, because all kinds of duality have been left behind. Do not have fancy ideas about this or complicate it. Yeah, do not have fancy ideas about your realization or complicate it. This is what we tend to do because we get very stage oriented. And it's strange because we almost condition ourselves to follow stages and evaluate our progress through all the previous yanas, the stages of shamatha, the ox herding stages, the stages of the jhanas, the stages of the bhumis, all this kind of thing. Come here, Nitty. We do it. Sometimes a snake or something comes through the house, and especially extreme temperatures outside, but I think it's okay. All right. Hi, little bear. Hi, little bear. Good morning. Good morning, little bear. Yeah, so this sounds a lot easier than it is, to just leave your mind without modification. You've probably heard many inquiries in here about, hey, what do I do about my jealousy, or what do I do about my desires? And as soon as you say, what do I do about it, that tells me that you're not being friends with it. You're not allowing it. So maybe next time you have this thought, how do I get rid of this feeling? Or why do I feel this way? Maybe just allow yourself to feel that way. We can't constantly be in this resistance of how we feel and how life is. Even if it's very traumatic and oppressive, the best freedom is to make peace with that. That's how we come out on top. If you let the oppression into your head, then they're winning. If you can maintain your freedom no matter what, then nobody can conquer you. So, in that state of awareness, there is no question of either contamination or non contamination, because all kinds of duality have been left behind. Do not pursue further questions at this point. This quality of freshness is not something contrived, nor is it brought to consciousness. Rather, it is a primordial freshness that you allow to be present in the mind. See? A wonderful translating right there. Wonderful commentary. For some reason, we don't hear that too often. You're allowing this to be present in your mind. It's uncontrived. Be loose by allowing the mind to be relaxed in its own nature. Very good. Thank you so much, Yeshi, and everyone, for facilitating the Dharma today. Um, I think this is a wonderful point, that if we can manage to let it be, let our experience be, and when we have the 10-minute meditations, that's essentially what's happening. We're kind of bathing in the pure presence, and then the self-liberation is happening. Like steaming off, like steam coming off of us, or excuse me, peeling away. Yeah.